let us look into what you might call these baby steps of the new AfCFTA in the past 6 months, and in particular, the wider issues around readiness for the new trade agreement. Live now from our Abuja studios is my guest on this, Kyari Bukar, economist and former chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Bukar is also the chairman of SUNNU Assurances PLC. Great to have you on the show this evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Bosun.
We appreciate you coming through on the show. Thank you very much. Let's check in with the new AfCFTA 6 months into official takeoff with the entire backdrop of 2020, 2019, the whole groundswell of the launch. Within the last 6 months, do you think we're now on the road to full realization of this trade agreement?
Well, it is actually a good baby step. Now, remember that Africa is the oldest continent on Earth. Every part of the world actually separated from Africa, if you go by the geological formation. And in many millennia, 6 months is just a flicker of a moment in time. However, what I would say is that a lot of progress has been made, and the fundamental ones were actually in agreeing to sign and ratify the AfCFTA. Of course, there are still a number of countries that have not yet fully ratified that, but trading has started. I believe the first trading happened within 3 days, I believe 3rd of January or so. 2 container loads of goods left Ghana for one of the southern African countries, and Guinea as well. So essentially, what we need to look at and what we need to consider is the potential. For the first time, I'm going to say the word potential with a purposeful intentionality. What I mean by that is that things are beginning to happen and they are moving in the right direction. Consider the population of Africa, 1.3 billion people. Consider the overall GDP of Africa, $3.4 trillion. Now, the other interesting dynamic is that the current trading of exports within the continent is but less than 20% of the total exports. The potential exists.
You're talking about the potential. Yes. I mean, let me respectfully cut in. Let's continue on that trajectory of potential and progress when we come back after the break. Stand by, everyone, and stand by Bukar Kyari. Welcome back to the show. Let's get a few more grounds covered on the AfCFTA with Kyari Bukar, economist and former chairman of the NESG and the current chair of SUNNU Assurances. Apologies, Kyari Bukar, for that. We need to go on that quick break. You're talking about potential and promise and prospect. Where do all of this PPP, including progress, where do we all put it all together? The 4 Ps, put them together for me.
Those 3 Ps are already there, and it has given us great warm feeling of what is to come. Now, the last P, which basically is how far have we gone in a space of 6 months. I think one of the key things is that we still need to finish dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But essentially the ratification elements. Many of the African countries are today either constitutional democracy or somewhere in between a democracy and an autocracy or whatever. But the ratification would basically be embed those whole thing. But look at what's going to happen though, Bosun. We are going to have to get rid of something in the neighborhood of 90% of tariffs and custom duties and all of that, cross-border shenanigans. It's still inefficient to trade within the continent. But that inefficiency is going to be removed by AfCFTA, and that's why I still have to rely on those. But the progress so far made is that we have seen some levels of intentions of investments in various African countries. We've seen manufacturing moving even towards the western coast of Africa rather than the southern most parts of Africa. And we are beginning to also see trades amongst ourselves. And I believe that, if Africa is the next continent that needs to open up in the world economy, and it would be the one that would have the most high growth rate potential, then what we can do is that by trading amongst ourselves, we will be the first explorers, so to speak. We will be the first to actually mine the potential or that large demographic that Africa presents to the world. In addition to that, it would be very easy for us to harmonize some of our core investment-like and trade policies. And by so doing, the entire continent then becomes attractive. If you are targeting Nigeria, you may need to actually show up either in Nigeria or in the neighboring countries. I'm not proposing that that's what someone should do by going outside of Nigeria and investing. As a Nigerian, I would like to see many more investments to come into Nigeria. But the key is that even African businesses, some of the larger African businesses, you would begin to see them venturing outside of their home base, as some of the Nigerian companies and some of the South African companies have been doing.
So, Kyari, in terms of investment flows, in terms of policies and actions that we need to put on the ground, are you seeing signs of progress on the Nigerian side? That's the A part. The flip side of that question is, do you think the AfCFTA will get international investors, and foreign direct investors, to begin to be a little bit more choosy or picky in terms of where they go? Because you're talking a manufacturing hub, getting a little bit out of Southern Africa into West Africa and more into North Africa. We're seeing a whole lot of that. The automobile industry in Egypt and in Morocco, for example. So do you think if you're not prepared yesterday, you're going to take a beating for that because you're not ready?
Correct. So readiness is an important component. So as good as the overall general preparation of the entire continent is concerned, as far as trade is concerned, or even attraction of investments in general to the continent is concerned, the continent is becoming more and more attractive. So rather than go to another part of the world, you would prefer to come to Africa. Now, but Africa is so huge. You then want to go to places where your money is welcome if you are coming from outside of the continent. And that is where the internal competition will now kick into place. And those are going to be at the local or national, for that matter. When I mean local is, I mean the national economic policies that would make a country more attractive or less attractive to certain kinds of investments. Now, in the case of Nigeria, we have quite a number of challenges, economically speaking. Infrastructure, we need to build our infrastructure to make it conducive or attractive for a foreign investor. If I'm going to put a manufacturing plant, I would like to see the availability of power, for example, or in certain kinds of industries, availability of water, and there are certain infrastructural elements that is a critical success factor for certain kinds of investments in certain kinds of manufacturing facilities. Now, the attractiveness of Nigeria is the demographics. There is a huge population, young population, consuming population, and therefore one has to look at that, and based on that, it makes it, a no-brainer to put some of the manufacturing facilities. But then the bigger question is, can my is my money welcome if you are coming from outside of the continent, or even if you are coming from another part of the continent to expand your market. And so West Africa becomes attractive, and so is Nigeria. But the critical piece for us within the region or within a country is to become, the bride that would attract the money, so to speak.
So you're talking basically about competitiveness. So what about the private sector in terms of what the C-suite executives are talking about the AfCFTA? Are there new concerns? Are they optimistic about the AfCFTA, about their own preparedness within the various fault lines that we have in our own local environment to get on with the AfCFTA, to do business beyond the borders?
From the point of view of the private sector, you look at a number of things. If you are a bank, for example, you would want a well-harmonized policies, because even though every jurisdiction, every country has its own laws and regulations, it would be nice, for example, to have a continental regs or regulations that would make, say, the payment systems to be able to easily be a plug-and-play kind of things. Of course, some of the fintechs have even proven to us in a very rudimentary manner, at a retail level, payments can be made anywhere across the continent. In fact, anywhere on the globe can actually come in and out of the continent. Now, that sort of procedures would now need to be onboarded and harmonized across various industries. I'm thinking, if we are thinking of the financial services, for example, insurance business, the capital markets, the banking, whether it is commercial banking or investment banking, those are rules that can easily be harmonized and become a continental policy, something similar to the European Union's payment systems and financial services regulations, KYC requirements, and so on and so forth. And it becomes very easy for one potential certified professional in one jurisdiction to be easily onboarded and grandfathered to do business in another jurisdiction within the continent. So all of those things. So trade, basically, of AfCFTA, that T is the most important element in ensuring that the regulations are harmonized as well.
Okay, thank you, Bukar. We appreciate Kyari Bukar. Thank you very much. We're grateful for your insights on this important issue. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Kyari Bukar, former chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group and the chairman at SUNNU Assurances.